The Restore the Snyderverse movement. It has sparked a full-on civil war in Warner Brothers, and we're going to tell you why on the other side. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show channel. James Kincaid alongside Chris Davis and Jonathan Craig. And boy, it is the story that continues to take all these twists and turns. Every day it is still changing. The Restore the Snyderverse movement. Warner Brothers, Warner Media, HBO Max, CEOs sniping at one another behind the scenes. Turmoil has struck Warner Media. It is a full-fledged civil war going on.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, dude.
It really is. I was cruising along Tyrone Magnus's channel again, and I saw a catchy headline that now the HBO Max is interested in the Snyderverse, and in particular bringing back Ben Affleck as Batman. And I was like, oh, that sounds like great news. But that video sent me down this rabbit hole, and it is courtesy of Geekosity. Mikey Sutton, editor-in-chief of Geekosity, is the one sort of breaking this story. He is a well-known tipster in the Hollywood sphere of influence. I think first really became prominent on the scene when he predicted accurately or leaked accurately that, well, that report about Spider-Man leaving the MCU might have been a little bit premature. And that turned out to be right. And people have stuck by him ever since. So now he is reporting about this, that Zack Snyder's Snyderverse very well could live on HBO Max. And it made me immediately think of you, Davis, in terms of that's kind of what you were saying.
You want to talk about a tipster? I mean, can I just break off now and just call myself a tipster? I feel like I could make some money here.
No, because you were just saying what you wanted. You don't have any actual insight.
Yeah, but as long as you call your sources anonymous, you could just say whatever the heck you want.
That is true. Well, so I mean, what do you think about what the latest twists and turns with what's going on with the Snyderverse, Davis?
I love it. They, I think they're going the right way. I can't tell though how HBO is going to be able to wiggle this away from WB. I don't really understand how that relationship works. However, maybe they're just like, hey, yeah, you run with that. That's going to be your thing. It's not going to be theatrical. It's just going to be HBO Max. Do your 4 or 5 hour movies. That doesn't fit our scene. That's not us. So you do that. Make us some money on the side. We'll make the merch money. So if they want to do that, this is a great move for both parties, I think. But I think Anne's smelled a little stinky right now because yikes, and your comments did not age well.
Well, they certainly have not, and I think it's kind of like Batman Begins, where it's all a little bit technical, but the important thing here is that the Snyderverse is secure. AT&T owns, to the best of my knowledge, Warner Media, and they are very bullish on the Snyderverse and very bullish on HBO Max and the future of streaming. AT&T sees streaming as being, the thing to invest in, to throw a lot of eggs into streaming.
As they should.
Even more so than theatrical. And I couldn't help but think, I watched the last Blockbuster on Netflix, and it was unfathomable at Blockbuster's height to think of a world without video stores. Just as right now, even though we haven't been to them, except for Davis, who went to see New Mutants at the height of a pandemic, but even though most of us haven't been to a movie theater in over a year, it's still sort of unfathomable to see sort of the Hollywood model go away from the movie theaters. But I think AT&T, at least in some part, sees that streaming is that way forward beyond the movie theater. So they're very high on the Snyderverse and HBO Max right now. And it's done incredibly well. So yeah, Ann Sarnoff's comments did not age well. And it came off like a puff piece for her and her perspective, and a hit piece on the Snyderverse and everything going on there. And as, again, looking into this story and everything like that, it completely missed me that when the Zack Snyder cut leaked onto HBO Max, like if you went to watch Tom and Jerry, it gave you Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's so much dysfunction or if you want to believe that they are trying to torpedo Zack Snyder's Justice League from within. And there are a lot of people that do believe that. The Variety piece certainly points to that. The fact that when the Snyder Cut did get leaked instead of Tom and Jerry, multiple hours before they took it down. So you're either inept or you're intentionally trying to sabotage the buzz around Zack Snyder's Justice League. John, I mean, I know you sort of have been tertiarily involved.
Yeah.
Those.
Here's what I'll say.
You?
I don't think that it's possible that they could intentionally do something like that using the HBO Max app, especially if now they're stepping in and they're saying like we'll be the ones to finance the Snyderverse. Like you can have your theatrical releases, it can be a separate world or whatever, but like we're gonna move forward with the Snyderverse and we're gonna keep this train going. Like I don't think it's plausible that they're actively trying to sabotage other parts of Warner Brothers, but I do think that there's a lot of competition and a lot of competing ideas within Warner Brothers and within AT&T, like the overall AT&T umbrella. And I think that I'm kind of on the side of streaming services here. Like I do think that movie theaters have a place. And I do think that all of these big studios are going to have to figure out exactly what their plan is with theaters when things are open back up to normal. But in the meantime, streaming services are here to stay. They're only going to continue to grow in market share and saturation. And right now we're seeing a battle for who the ubiquitous streaming services are going to be. Netflix, I think, is going to be a staple. I think Disney is going to be a staple. But I think beyond that, I think there's a huge question mark in terms of what sticks around. And I think having successful and valuable IPs and properties in your streaming service is step one. And the Snyderverse is just getting started. It's just getting its momentum. I know that there are a lot of movies in this franchise already, but as far as I'm concerned, when you look at like the track record of the MCU, there's a lot more that you can do with the Snyderverse. So yes, keep it going, keep dumping money in there. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, like that is your cash cow. You put everything you can into building this thing out and having it be a long-term legacy, and do shows around it, and do everything else in your service. And to hell with the theatrical division of Warner Brothers if they don't see your vision, dude. Fuck them.
So again, there is friction, there is division within Warner Media, and I want to go back to Mikey Sutton's article because he talks about how this Variety article, which essentially was a hit piece on the Snyderverse, and he says, hit piece. Let me be perfectly frank here. I've been a professional journalist for 34 years. I began in print in 1987, and that Variety article was far from objective reporting. It was completely biased towards Warner Brothers. Yeah. And he also goes on to say, one of my insiders said that Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar is ecstatic with how well the Snyder Cut performed on HBO Max this weekend. Yet Kilar wasn't quoted at all. Did Variety reach out to him for comment? Of course not. The article has a suspicious stench to it. So, it is HBO Max and the people responsible for that. They're fighting for the Snyderverse, essentially. They want to do more with this. And Ann Sarnoff, her people, Warner Media Studios, they want to kill it. They want to end the party at 11. And suspect. We've talked about it multiple times now.
It is.
The suspect timing, the suspect reaction to this movie, which by most accounts has been a triumph. Everybody's having fun with it. They're not celebrating at all. They're not celebrating the fact that it broke Avengers Endgame record in terms of trending. They're not celebrating at all that it's Zack Snyder's highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Notice, like, movies love doing that. I don't personally go to Rotten Tomatoes to tell me how to feel about movies, but movie studios love to, puff their chest out about those numbers, and they're not doing it.
You know what though? Like, honestly, now that I've had some time to sit with this and digest it a little bit more, I can kind of see the motivation, because if you look at Warner Brothers, which is this giant legacy, 100-year media titan, and it has all these divisions underneath it producing all these different kinds of media, and all of these divisions are also massive in their own right. Huge companies and subsidiaries within Warner Brothers, and each person that's heading up one of those divisions is fighting for their life. They're fighting for the life of their division. They're fighting to justify what they do. They're fighting to put what they do at the forefront and make themselves seem like the most valuable part of the entity. And in the same way, when it's like when you create a government agency, that government agency, however relevant it is in the future, just fights to continue its own legacy and its own existence. The same is true of divisions and subsidiaries within a big company like Warner Brothers. So I think you got to kind of look at Warner Brothers theatrical a little bit right now and be like, they're fighting for their lives, dude. Like they're fighting to let everyone know, like, we're still here. We still have some plans. Hopefully we can execute them at some point. And meanwhile, you have HBO Max and the entire like digital division coming in being like, fuck theatrical, dude. No one's watching movies. People are just streaming everything these days. Why are we listening to these old dinosaurs anyway? The future is apps. The future is watching stuff on your iPhone. We don't even need theaters anymore.
I don't even think it's necessary. I mean, you make a great point that they all are fighting for their collective lives, for their collective influence and everything like that. And I think influence goes to is that you probably have Ann Sarnoff and her people being like, we have the vision. We know the way forward for these movies to compete. We're going to have our own MCU. Yeah. And then, by the fan fervor and the pressures put on by AT&T to actually release the Snyder Cut. Yeah. Now everyone is falling all over themselves to praise this thing. It's a bad look for Sarnoff and Warner Media Studios. It's like, well, maybe really your vision isn't the best one. Like, in fact, probably not the best one.
Seems like you might be a little out of touch.
Everything.
You might be a little out of touch, Annie.
and here's the other thing too, because her shortest, most terse answer was about the Ayer cut, right? Mm-hmm. That we are not going to be developing the Ayer cut. And that's a more understandable stance given the fact that the Suicide Squad is coming out in short order and the spin-off Peacemaker series and everything like that. But I have heard, as I went down this whole rabbit hole, other insiders saying that, oh yeah, the work on the Ayer cut is already being done, and they're just not going to start talking about it until after the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker comes out. So, like, the undercutting and just the one hand not knowing what the other is doing is just so it's not going to get better at Warner Brothers and Warner Media right now.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think we're going to be calling her Ann Sayonara soon. But I think what sucks in all this is, like, as much as we can hate on Ann, and like I'm sure we'll get comments, dumping on Ann on this video, which is great. Ultimately, it's not Ann that loses because of this civil war. It's the fans. It's the consumers. And that's what sucks. Like, why can't this organization just come together, like put their dysfunction aside and just give us good content that we want to get?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to for me.
You got to have both. Like you're saying, you can do the HBO Max, exactly what I said last time when we first talked about this, and then you have the Flashpoint coming up. You have options to talk about how this is split, how it's different, and that's fine. The fans want both, and we will consume both. I will pay you my hard-earned money for both. So do it.
We will consume it all. I mean, I still think it's surprising a little bit to this point that we haven't hit a saturation level on superhero movies. Honestly, I got fatigued before the general sort of casual, superhero fans did. I didn't see that coming. Yeah. Now it's ebbed and flowed and everything like that. But the fact is that the box office dollars are still there. So it was sort of, as Davis said earlier in a video, do you like money, Ann? And it's like there is money left to be found on the table, whether it's on HBO Max or in theaters as well. And I maintain that they still have their place in theaters also. For me personally, I will always want to still go to the movie theater. And I would like to see, this universe continue on there. He still has two more, in Snyder's head, two more movies to finish his story. And I think we're going to get them. And I think overall, in spite of the fact that, it is a civil war, there is dysfunction running rampant with Warner Media and everything like that. The encouraging thing is that I feel like with AT&T, they know what's up. It's like, no, this is going really well, so we're going to actually continue on this. I wouldn't be surprised if after that Variety article came out, it's like you're gonna have you now have egg on your face, because pretty soon in the coming weeks you're gonna have to do a complete about face about this thing, and I think it's very encouraging.
Stinky egg.
It's very encouraging that they want Ben Affleck back. I mean, I just overall, it does feel like, because John, you talk about who's going to hurt is the fans. I feel like the fans are eventually going to get what they want. Yeah. And I feel like everyone, that goes for everyone, it's not just about the SnyderVerse and everything like that. I just think eventually the cream will rise to the top, hopefully, here with what's going on, and they will be able to find some sort of direction. And I know they're obsessed with competing with the MCU, and the way forward to do that is to continue on with the SnyderVerse and what you have going on as well. You can continue to develop those characters, but your money characters right now are what is coming out of the Snyder Cut. Yeah. So that's what I got. But man, high drama with Warner Brothers, a corporate civil war. We're gonna leave it. Yes, we're gonna leave it right there for now. But I'm sure we'll be back with another twist and turn in this story as it continues on. But that is going to do it. Have a great week, everyone. Remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud. Hey, thanks for watching this far, Nerdosphere. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check us out, bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord as well if you want to get in on the conversation. And also, Ann Sarnoff's not the only one that likes money. We like money. bestdamnnerdshow.com/Patreon. If you want to really, be great fans and put your money where your mouth is, we certainly need it and we certainly appreciate it.
We're selling out.